1 second, the girl was still standing in her wedding dress, being publicly humiliated by the childhood sweetheart she had loved for years. The next second, she grabbed a man who had just been rejected on a blind date for being too poor and married him on the spot. But she never imagined that the poor guy she had chosen as her last resort was actually the richest man in the entire city. And it all began with a ridiculous promise of marriage. In order to attend the same university as her childhood sweetheart, the girl had even given up the chance to enter a much better school, simply because the man had once promised that he would marry her after graduation. Finally, the day they had agreed on arrived. Wearing a wedding dress and filled with excitement, the girl rushed to meet him. But instead of a proposal, what waited for her was a humiliation they had planned from the beginning. The man not only refused to marry her, but even joined a wealthy young woman in mocking her. It turned out that the so-called promise of marriage had never been real at all. From beginning to end, it was nothing more than a bet between the two of them. Even worse, the wealthy woman forced the girl to marry some random man that very day. Just when the girl had been pushed into a corner, she suddenly noticed a man nearby who had just failed a blind date. He looked so poor that his date had rejected him on the spot. Gritting her teeth, the girl rushed over and asked if he was willing to marry her. To her surprise, the man agreed. Just like that, the two walked straight into the marriage registry and got their certificate. Her ex-boyfriend was furious, convinced that she would regret everything and eventually come crying back to him. But the girl never looked back. Not long afterward, the wealthy woman came up with another vicious plan. She bribed a restaurant owner to falsely accuse the girl's mother of stealing a gold necklace worth $50,000 and had her taken directly to the police station. Then the wealthy woman and the restaurant owner appeared together and forced the girl to make a choice, either agree to the owner's unreasonable demands or stand by and watch her mother go to prison. With nowhere else to turn, the girl went to beg the ex-boyfriend she had loved for years. But because the man wanted an investment from the wealthy woman's family, he actually told the girl to endure it for now and promised that he would make it up to her once he became successful. Hearing this, the girl finally gave up on him completely. Her only option was to ask the husband she had just married for help. She assumed that a man who seemed to have nothing could hardly do anything for her. But after hearing what had happened, he simply made one calm phone call. Before long, the most powerful team of lawyers in the city arrived at the police station, and the girl's mother was quickly cleared of all charges and released. The girl thought her husband had simply been lucky enough to know a few impressive lawyers. She had no idea that the elite corporation everyone admired was actually owned by his family. But the wealthy woman still refused to stop. Soon afterward, the girl was kidnapped. In her panic, she desperately called out for her husband. The kidnappers took her phone and deliberately called him, mocking him as a penniless loser and laughing that even if he knew his wife had been taken, there was nothing he could possibly do. But on the other end of the call, the man's voice instantly changed. And even then, the kidnappers still had no idea that the poor guy they were mocking was the one man in the entire city they could least afford to offend.